excited to be here and have an opportunity to talk to you about crime and violence. As Edwina said, I've been a crime and violence prevention consultant and actually a specialist working in high crime neighborhoods for 40 years. I worked in Oakland, California. I'm really a Californian, and working in Oakland, California, Richmond, California, and Contra Costa County. And then I was a consultant working around and talking to people about the importance of neighborhoods around the different states in this country. So I'm here today to talk about crime and violence, which I'm happy to do. One of the first things I'm going to cover three topics, basically. Number one, how to spiritually keep your kids safe by empowering your children at an early age, and how to stop bullies, number one. Number two, how to improve family communication and how to use the listening chair. And then number three, the myths that keep Americans locked into crime and violence. So let me start with the empowering children on how to stop bullies. So as Edwina said, this is old school presentation here because I'm not sharing I'm showing my graphic. And this one is, the red is the bully, the blue is the victim, and the one in the middle that is protected is the spiritually centered child. So you will see that the bully and the victim are attracted to each other. So the goal for all parents should be, in order to empower, the goal for every parent should be to strengthen their children so that they become spiritually centered and do not become victims of the bully. Now, how do you do that? Well, number one, children have to feel empowered. One of the things I did when my son was 6 years old was I told him that he needed to, well, first of all, he came home crying from school. I'm never going back, said he. I'm not going back at all. I've had it. And I said, what's the matter? And he said, well, this boy, Johnny, keeps bullying me, and I don't want to go back to school. It makes me feel bad. I cry. And I said, okay, let's talk about this. Number one, you have to be strong within yourself. Now, this is where you start empowering children. And that means, because at the time, and I'm sure Superman is still around, put on your Superman costume when you go back to school. And that means that you need to bounce word bullets off your chest. You know how Superman bounces bullets off his chest? You need to bounce those word bullets off your chest. And he looked at me with his tears in his eyes and he said, I don't think I can do that. And I said, well, you have to learn how to do it to protect yourself. So a few days later, he came back crying again. And we redo the story, told him about he had to strengthen himself. And he said, okay, I'll try again. And it took about a week or two. Then one day he came home all excited. And he said, I took care of Johnny. And I said, uh-oh, what did you do? And he said, well, he said, when he started bullying me, he said, I told him I was going to punch him in the nose. And I kind of went, uh-oh. But he said, but then I talked to my teacher, and my teacher took care of him. So now Johnny and I are friends. Well, that's kind of the way kids are. You know, they can get angry with each other, but then they can become friends. But what I was doing basically is empowering him to take responsibility for himself and learn how to speak up for himself, which gave him he was very encouraged because he learned he could take care of a small problem. It doesn't seem like a small problem when you're a teenager, but if you teach them at an early age on how to empower themselves, they won't put up with a bully boyfriend as a teenager. they will be able to speak up. I don't care whether it's a boy or a girl. We need to empower children so that they can take care of themselves. Okay, anybody have a question about that? All right. Well, then went on to the next one is to empower your family and improve communication within the family. Number one, there is everybody's busy. I mean, two people are working. They're tired when they come home. They don't spend enough time with their kids, just listening to their children. So I was in a neighborhood meeting, and here's where you can meet people in your own neighborhoods and get ideas from them on what they're doing. That's what we used to do. We used to share information. And I heard a woman talking about how frustrated she was when her three boys would fight among themselves. And she put a chair in the kitchen and she said, okay, she said, you guys, I'm tired of this. If you got a problem, sit in the chair and we're all gonna listen. We're gonna stop what we're doing and listen to you and decide, you have to decide how you're gonna behave. So she sat them in the chair and pretty soon it became normal for the kids when they had a problem to sit in the chair and talk. And she didn't solve their problem. What she was doing was empowering them by saying, okay, what could you have done differently? Okay, the boys are fighting. What could you have done differently? How do you think you could have changed that? What kind of outcome do you think is good for you and your brothers? And I thought, wow, that's a fantastic idea. If people put a listening chair in their kitchen or family room and I told the kids, if you have any problems at all, we want to hear them. Sit down in the chair and let's hear what you have to say. So I have heard so much feedback about people that have really improved the communication within their family in a relatively easy way and in a short period of time. And one mother said, we've been doing this for several months now, and it's improved the communication in the family. But she said, one day I had a really bad day. And she said, I sat in the chair, and she said, the kids came running and said, what's the matter, Mom? And then they said, what could you have done differently? And she said, anyway, it's a wonderful tool for parents. And I've heard it used so many times that it's kind of fun to actually have better communication. If you improve communication, and if everybody improved communication within their family at an early age, you don't want your kids going to bed feeling angry with each other, because that can go on for life. You want them all to be friends. You want them to like each other, love each other, and support each other. So that takes communication. And all of our children need to have a better pipeline to their parents, and parents need to have a better pipeline to their children. So any questions about that? Because I think that's a wonderful tool for anybody. Edwina, you got any thoughts about that one, or? Okay.
I have so many thoughts, but I'll save them because you're on a roll and I love this. Keep going.
Okay, now we're going to talk about the myths. The myths that people do not, I worked in high crime neighborhoods for many years, and I saw the social isolation that we're experiencing across the country right now. I saw the anger, the frustration, and what people usually do when they are fearful or afraid of crime and violence. What they do is lock up, hide behind locked doors, and pretty soon the bad guys take over the neighborhood because the people are not engaged. Even the pioneers knew that we had to circle the wagons in order to protect each other. So I'm going to be talking about here. Myth number one is police can keep you safe. Well, I just wrote this out because it's clearer if I write it out. So let me read this. Police have a limited role. Additional police on the streets increase response time, but their job is to react to crime. Citizens can prevent crime. The national average is 2.1 police officers for every 1,000 citizens. So it isn't even realistic to assume that police can keep you safe. So what does that mean? That means that the police, and even today, we have been reducing the police in some of our cities, which is crazy to me, because they were limited before. And now they're even more limited. And what you are seeing in many of our cities is an increase in crime, which is no surprise to me. And I'm seeing a lot of, bad people taking over these neighborhoods. And now we have an influx of migrants, and some of them are not healthy people, and they have been growing up in a country where violence is the norm. So it is behooving all of us to think about, if you think that the police can keep you safe, please think again. That is not going to happen. They cannot come. They don't even respond. They don't even have the manpower today to come in some areas, report burglaries or any of those crimes that frighten people. So, okay, number two, more money will stop crime. Okay. For 40 years, taxpayers have spent billions of dollars on home security, guards, SWAT teams, training, scanning equipment, spot shotter, which is when they fire a gun, you can spot it in some areas, and surveillance cameras. Well, we see that all over the place, all over our cities. All right. Do you feel safer? Well, that's up to you to think about. Well, let me tell you a story. When I was working for the Oakland Police Department, we had a call, and I worked in community services. And we had a call from a lady that was irate. Her name was, Barbara. And Barbara was so upset. The city council in her town had said, and this was a relatively small town alongside of Oakland, and this town area was, the city council had decided to fence her park across the street. It was called Davis Park. And it was a whole block, and it had been taken over by drug dealers. And the police didn't have the manpower to put in police to get rid of the drug dealers, because that's what she was angry about. She said, I want these drug dealers out of our parks. And what the city council had decided was they were going to put a fence all the way around Davis Park, which she thought was crazy. She said, I never heard of such a thing. And she said, they've got to clean up that park, and they can't just put a fence up. Those drug dealers are just going to move on someplace else. And she said, our city's not going to be even safer. It's going to be worse. So the police department in Oakland sent me out to talk to her, Barbara. Well, I sat down with her and I said, okay, what do you think about getting your neighbors organized and having them go out into the park? And what they can do is walk the dog, play checkers, water the grass, and start taking down descriptions, names. They can take down license numbers, time of day, and any pertinent information without being noticed. Within 3.5 months, she and her neighbors turned over all that information, and they had the enough information to arrest the people, and they cleaned up the park. Well, they were so thrilled with their accomplishment that they went back to city council and said, okay, our park is much cleaner. We work together. And she said, you were going to use a lot of money to put up that fence all the way around the park. And she said, now I would like to have that, we'd like to have that money for new swing sets and slide for the children. Her request was granted. Now that's the way our community should be taking back their area. We can all do that. We can all stop thinking that somebody else is going to save us. This country and a democracy is about we the people. It's not about, the government, politicians. They can't save us. Sorry. It would be nice if they could, but they can't. So I am working with HOA, the national organization, and they are going to be launching a program on safe neighborhoods for the HOA. But that's not the neighbor, that's not who I'm really concerned about. I'm concerned about our inner cities, our cities in general, and we need to have, and for any of you that are listening, I'm hoping to spread the news that we need neighborhood safety experts, which was somebody like me, which is easy training, low cost, and looks like the neighborhood, speaks the language of the neighborhood, and goes back into neighborhoods and helps our neighborhoods get organized. So we can do this, but it's going to have to come from we the people. It's not going to come from politicians. You know, I have mentioned this to police departments, to government, and you know what they say? And I get this in different language, different ways. The people will become vigilantes, that's one, or the people will have too much power. Okay, we got to take back our power. And that's up to we the people. Okay, then how much time do I have, Edwina?
I say keep going as long as everybody's okay with that. Like I said, this is just wonderful and filled with some concrete tools, which I'm always looking for. We all talk about the problems, but you have some really interesting solutions that I think we're going to dive into in a little bit. So go ahead.
Okay, myth number 3. Hitting and verbal abuse will not harm children. You know, there are a lot of people that still think that if you spank your kids, and do you know we spend $220 million a day on child abuse and neglect in America. That's shameful. That is horrible. Obviously, we haven't gotten the message out that hitting and verbal abuse will not harm children. Okay, I'm going to read this little paragraph here. Abused children struggle to be accepted. They don't learn to trust their inner spirit of knowing right from wrong. They learn to bully or become victims from their home. They don't trust their instincts, their intuition, or develop a healthy conscience to protect them. Social isolation has increased drug abuse and added to creating child victims. So the spiritually centered child, and I showed you this, graphic, and that's the centered child. And our goal should be for every child to have the love and support they need. But I will tell you that the most important thing any of us can do is get out and talk to our neighbors, reconnect. We have come to a point now after COVID-19 where we have social isolation. We have mental problems for children. That never happened before, but I can tell you, children need community. They not only need community, but they need to have that support. And let me tell you a little story about AJ Jelani. I met AJ in Richmond, California, when I was working with that police department. And AJ was a man that saw in his neighborhood a lot of single mothers, and a lot of children that did not even have any male support in their families because the men were not there. So he took on all of these kids in his neighborhood. I think he had about 11 children in the neighborhood, and he started Christmas on the Streets. Christmas on the Streets included everybody bought a potluck and food, and they had games and so forth for the kids right before Christmas, and Christmas is coming up. And one man made I have this visual picture of it, and it was a little train. Another man worked with AJ, and these were friends of AJ's, and they came in and built a sleigh, and AJ dressed up as Santa Claus, and he sat in the sleigh, and the kids had their picture taken with Santa Claus. And the city itself was so impressed with what he did the first year that they encouraged the whole community to get much more involved with the children. So AJ was a role model. He even started a what do you call that when people Richmond's Got Talent, and he had the children in summer involved in Richmond's Got Talent. And I was a judge on that panel, and it was amazing to see the community come together, and it kept the kids busy with their talents during the summer. So it goes to show that, we need community for our kids, because once they get involved, and I saw this over and over and over again, they don't stop. They see they have some power. As a matter of fact, Barbara, who I told you about, who got the fence up or the fence down in her community, she went on to work with senior citizens and help clean up a house there. And eventually, and I saw her 10 years later, and Barbara became the mayor. Her name was Barbara Vigil, and she became the mayor of San Pablo, California. So if we want to see some real progress in our country, we have to inspire people. We have to get out and get them connected. We've got to look at these amazing people that are in our neighborhoods. You don't even know they're there unless we make an effort to bring them together. They had a murder in San Francisco, and I went with Dr. Barbara Williams, and the two of us went over into this area where a young child, she was a teenager, was shot and killed, and people were scared, but they went, it was a little church, and we have 350,000 churches in this country. What if each church just reached out and helped bring neighbors together? That's called love thy neighbor. Let's put our words into action, I should say. Anyway, these are just some of the things that people can do for themselves, and stop relying on big government to save us. It's not going to happen. Okay.
So I see we have a question. So is it okay if we pause here and take a question, some questions? And just to remind everybody, we are going for about another 53 minutes if we can. Stephanie, thank you. I thought that was
Sure.
A wonderful presentation, and just so relevant for all of us, because again, we look at all these situations and we feel so helpless, and to have these free tools, suggestions for things that individuals can do is you know, beyond valuable. Tuela, I see you have your hand up. You want to unmute? And if anyone wants to turn their cameras on, we'd love to see you and get engaged here for a few minutes.
Hi,
Welcome.
thank
Tell us,
you.
oh, yeah, tell us where you're joining from.
I am joining from Cedar Park, Texas. So I'm not sure where all of everybody else is from. I was running late, had some stuff going on in the background and all of that good stuff. I just wanted to jump in on what Mrs. Mann was saying because I completely and totally agree with you as far as our parenting and the discipline. And I just wanted to make a point, I guess. And this is something that I'm actually working on. I'm trying to come up with a different approach on how we approach our families because for me, I don't know about the rest of you, but here in the deep South, whooping your kids is normal. It does not matter the race, the religion. That's just a normal thing. And I didn't realize until a couple of years ago, I was actually watching, I don't know if any of you are aware of him, but Billy Carson was explaining, and when he broke it down, it made sense. He was explaining that his brother used to get whooping after whooping after whooping because he was acting out at school, but nobody realized at the time that he was acting out at school because he was getting whooping after whooping after whooping. And
Mhm.
then Tika Shepherd and Antonina oh my gosh, I can't remember her last name. But anyways, the Antonina is a trauma therapist, trauma release therapist, and Kika Shepherd is a therapist. Both of them are African American women, and they were explaining how through generations we've been taught by the very people that owned us how we're supposed to discipline. So we learned
Yeah.
from the beginning that the beatings, that's what happens when you do wrong. This is something that is generational. So if we
Right.
approach our parents, because this is how they were able to get through to me, it's not our fault. It's not your fault. This is something that's been ingrained. This is something that you've been taught all your life, and it's wrong. It doesn't make you wrong. It makes what you've been taught and what you've been conditioned to do wrong. So here's how we're going to approach it. So I really feel like if we approach the parents or the family unit in such a way that it's not accusatory and it's not saying, oh my God, you're wicked and you're evil, not only is it going to open up the parents' minds and hearts to actually hear what we have to say, but it opens up ourselves to not only forgive ourselves but forgive our parents for the abuse because it puts us in a mind that we're understanding it wasn't their fault either because I do come from a very abusive family and it's only been the last 20 years 25 years for me in the South in the area that I'm from that mental health has actually become something that we're comfortable talking about. So this is something that we actually have to take into consideration. I'm sorry, the quietest place in my house is out in the garage away from my kids. Sorry. We have to take into consideration how we're approaching our parents if we actually want them to open up and hear what it is that we have to say. So we cannot, absolutely cannot come at them as just making them feel little about themselves. Explain to them why they are where they are and explain to them, we know you're doing this out of love. You know, it's just misguided, and here's how
Yeah.
we can fix it. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the
Absolutely.
bullying that goes on in school comes from home situations.
Exactly.
So this will go a long way with healing a lot of that. I feel like that should be something key in the foundation for whatever it is that we're going to build here. So I just wanted to throw that in, and I love where you're going with this. So yeah, that's all I had to say.
Let me just say thank you so much for saying that because I grew up with a father that you're talking about, but he just did that to my brother. He was very abusive to my brother. and he got hit. As a matter of fact, on my 10th birthday, my father and brother got into, they were as big, my brother was as big as my father by then, and he punched, they were just knocking each other out. There was so much animosity toward each other. And that's one of the reasons, because growing up in with alcoholism as I did, I could see that there needs to be a whole different way of raising children. And it started with me because it is generational. I've seen it over and over and over again because my father grew up in North Carolina. And it was a very easy thing for people to do. It's an easy way, just smack them and they'll behave. But my brother has been gone now for 35 years. And my father basically killed him because he yo-yoed his weight way up high to 350 pounds, and then he'd shrink down. Then he tried other lifestyles to try and fix his life. And he died at an early age. So I agree with you completely. We have to stop the hitting of children. And there are much more effective ways. That's why I talk about the listening chair and neighbors used to counsel each other if there was a problem in the home. And a lot of that has gone away. And we rely on mental health experts. We're relying on experts. You know what? Every child is an expert, is a genius. We have to allow that genius to blossom through love and support. So thank you for your
Exactly.
comments.
You're welcome. And replacement behaviors. I just wanted to throw that in too. We can't tell them stop beating your kids and
Right.
then not give them an alternative. For every behavior that you take away, there has to be a replacement behavior. And we have to give them something tangible that's actually going to work for them and explain to them that it's a transition and it's going to take about 2 weeks to a month for the kids and everybody else to adjust. But as long as we're giving them this information and being honest with them and upfront, I fully see this as something that can be tangible and life changing for everybody, long term change for everyone.
And that's why I mentioned about the neighborhood safety experts, people taken right out of the neighborhood and trained on how to go back into the neighborhood and help each other get a cohesive neighborhood and counsel each other. We need Americans to come together. And the only way we do that is through people to people. And I think, anyway, I know what you're saying, and thank you for your comments.
I'd love to jump in here on and sort of piggyback on some of the things Stephanie is saying, but also talk about replacement behavior. Also talk about, this is a global problem. It's a terrible problem in
It
Africa.
is.
It is generational. It is, and not just Africa. There's all kinds of places where, we don't know how to parent. We were sort of believe that our role is this authoritarian, disciplinarian. We parent often the way that we were parented. But what we need to understand is really at the essence of all of this is that a person that feels safe is a person that can learn personal peace. How in the world do we think our kids are going to feel safe when we beat them, when we hit them, and when, within irony, we're hitting them and saying, don't hit? Like we're not only modeling the worst behavior, but at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're shutting down their thinking about behavior. Instead of asking them when they're in trouble, are you okay? Why did you hit him? And get them to open up and discuss what's happening. I have an adopted child who has been through so much trauma before he was 6 years old. I can't even, it's, unthinkable. And he would come home sometimes from school when he was probably 7 or 8 years old. And he would just be sassy and angry and snapping at me and whatever. And he'd say something horrible in my reaction. And I was beaten, I was spanked. My mom used to just smack us right across the face. That was not fun. But regardless, like my reaction is, don't you talk to me that way. You know, of course we react instead of intentionally acting and trying to understand what is it that you can't process that you're hitting, you're acting out. The question, are you okay, in a genuine tone of voice, really wanting to know what's going on with them, that is kind of an example of the listening chair. You're opening the door because what do? They fall apart. They're crying. No, I'm not okay. I got, somebody hit me in the bathroom or la, 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 and now I got yelled at. But of course they're not okay. They wouldn't be hitting someone unless they were okay. So that is where the shift can happen with behavior. I love the listening chair, Stephanie. You and I have to do just a whole session on the listening chair because what a fantastic tool. And to be used for adults, teens, everybody. Let's go sit in the chair. Somebody hear me. Someone hear me.
That's
So
right.
these are real tools. And we have bullying sessions on bullying, on spiritual Playdate. We're going to give everyone a lot of resources here about things they can do. And I just wanted to also mention, oh God, if it's really true that a couple weeks to a month is going to shift this behavior, that would be the best data I've ever heard, because behavior is not a simple thing to shift. But it's hard to do when you don't start to practice it. We have to start to practice it. And we have to become, as parents, in all of my therapy, and teachers too, because some of the teachers that we work with have kids, and many of the teachers believe they're in this authoritarian role because they need the kids to behave, and they don't have other tools to get the kids to behave. So what do? They suspend them, they humiliate them, they call the parents, instead of trying to find out what's going on with this child, what else can we do to divert them from some punitive situation that just actually reinforces everything that's happened to them. And what at the very, very spiritual foundation of all of this is, what is the child? I am bad. I am not worthy. They all tell me I'm bad. I believe I'm bad. I believe I'm not lovable. And there's a fantastic kids book called Unlovable, by the way, that talks about this shame, which is different from guilt. A little bit of guilt is okay when a kid behaves badly. You know, they kick a dog. Of course not. We have to talk to them. They can feel a little bit of guilt, but feeling the I am bad, I am not worthy, that is a spiritual core belief. That's the one that we have to shift, because when they're thinking fearful thoughts, I'm going to get hit, I'm bad, no one likes me, I'm failing. Those are spiritual foundational thoughts about themselves. And they are never going to believe that I am Superman and I'm a helper and I can bounce the word bullets. They will never believe that until we start building them up. And the earlier we can start to do this, the better we're going to be. And doing it as a community, Stephanie, I'm on board. Let's figure it out.
Edwina, that gives me an opportunity to tell Miss Washington, here is a book with lots of tools in it. And it's called Empowerment Parenting: How to Raise Resilient Children Who Become Happy, Self-Reliant Adults. And it's on our website or on Amazon. And it had been translated into Chinese for kids at risk in Taiwan, China. So I hope that's helpful to you. And there's lots of tools in that book, and it empowers parents so they have the tools to create a safe and sound child.
And I suspect Stephanie and I just started working together, and this is probably one of our first presentations together. We've done a lot of different things alongside of each other and collaborate, but I suspect that we'll be trying to give you all more tools and more of this kind of stuff. I think it would be great to do 2 or 3 or 4 sessions on bullying. You know, there's so much to all of this when you start to unpack it. And because it is learned and sort of almost this inherent behavior that we have from when we were a child, from our own traumas that we don't work through. And we also don't educate the kids in a way that they understand that life is hard and you will have a trauma. Some of it might be intentional. You might be cyberbullied. You might be hit. Some of it might just be a horrible loss in your life. But if we don't start to give them the tools to start to understand that life is hard, but they are strong, they can be Superman, they can be a helper, they're here for a reason, then these kids are going to do exactly what has happened since our COVID kids. We see it everywhere. We see it everywhere. They're isolated. They don't have community. Parents don't have the tools. They don't know how to handle these kids with their phones and their internet. And so the kids are withdrawing. They don't look each other in the eye. They don't want to come into community. Their anxiety, depression, rampant. It's rampant among these kids. And dealing with all of this is, as parents, I have to tell you, I bristle when I hear boomers, of which I am. Oh, you know, you just need to go outside and blah, blah, blah. Like all this stuff, they have no understanding or context of what a toxic soup these kids are just marinating in on these all day long. They are living with negative messaging, just negative messaging. Buy this, do this, hate them. You know, all of these kinds of messages come at them at rapid fire pace. So understanding this is a tool. We have new sessions coming out on order and disorder. This is just a tool. You can use it for good or you can use it for evil. It's nothing more than money or all these other physical things that we have as tools. We're going to be releasing in the next 2 weeks our sessions on safety, safe minds, safe bodies, and safe spirits. And the kids are going to be, and when I say kids, like I said, this is adults and kids. We are having them build a safe house. And the metaphor of the house is this is them. This is their life, their bodies. The attic is their mind. All those thoughts. What's in your attic? What's the window letting in and out of the attic? What's the access letting in and out of the attic? Safe body.
Edwina,
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah. I just wanted to add, you know, I love what you're saying. It's so important that all of us, you know, think about children in a way of peace, you know, and I have observed a lot of children, and I've even taught in after-school programs. And I would say that every child is born a genius. And I'm not kidding. I say that. I mean, even look at the story of Dr. Ben Carson. His mother saw what was happening out in the community, and she told the boys, she had 2 boys, I don't want you involved in any of what's going on outside. And she had those kids go to the library, and both of them became doctors and PhDs. I mean, we can raise children to be what they want to be. And she made that so evident that the kids are very successful men today. So, you know, we have to keep messaging, sending out the message that our kids are so amazing. And they don't even know they're born with imagination, they're born with intuition, they're born with creativity, they have insights, they have instincts to protect them, they have a sense of humor to keep their life going, and they have a self-protective conscience which can keep them safe and healthy. So we really need to talk about the conscience that every child is born with and all of the gifts they've got.
You know what? That is the spiritual part of it. That is the part. And this is the part where we do have this big gap right now. And just going back to that metaphor of their house and them, the attic that was talking about the mind. Okay. We let all these things into our mind and we don't clean them out. Number one. We never clean our attics, do we? We just let them be a mess up there. Our frame of our house, that's our physical bodies. What are we letting in and out? The windows and the doors. But everything around it, including the house, that's our spirit. Nature, the sun, what are we letting in and out to our bodies to keep the energy beautiful, bright, clean? We don't talk about energy with our kids. We don't talk about spirits. And because there has been such a mass exodus from organized religion, which, you know, I get and is valid for so many reasons,
It's a support system. It's a support system.
we have now
Mm.
put ourselves in a situation where there is nothing countering all these negative spiritual messages that they're getting. The love, the purpose, the joy, the point of pushing through the pain of life and getting to the other side. And that we do have some control over these exercises, whether it's mindfulness but it does need to come from more than one place. It does take a village. It needs to not just be school. School is never going to build a spiritual child, not a public school in our lifetime. I can tell you that. But having it come from home, from community, from a faith organization that serves you and your beliefs, which there are many, or maybe it's a humanist organization. There's a humanist movement out there that's enormous, and it's essentially there isn't an outside creator. It's just the love of the human heart. It's love, which a lot of us believe that's what God is. So, but these are a lot of things that parents are very intimidated about talking about some of these things. And the holistic approach of all of this needs to be a tapestry. It's not one thing. It's a safe community. It's teachers, it's parents, it's all of us trying to plug in and influence our children everywhere we can in the best way possible and be that safe person so that they can start to feel safe. And who else has questions before we jump into another segment? We've got about 30 minutes left. I hope you can stay. We need thoughts, ideas. Cheryl, I know you have a comment or a thought. Anything for Stephanie or anything about the conversations that we've had so far?
I'm just really enjoying the conversation and you know, how to turn things around. I have to be honest, my own son and his parenting and anger issues. And I'm like, it's so frustrating. And then I'm thinking about myself and my mother and the generations that we pass these bad habits from, you know, and yeah. And as a mother and grandmother, that can be very challenging. So it's easier when you're outside the family, but certainly when you're inside. I was just looking at books, and there's one called Angry Parent, Angry Child. And I thought maybe that'll get his attention. Yeah, so I'm loving the conversation. I just love, Edwina, you know, I love Spiritual Playdate and all the resources and things that you guys are doing and providing to just the world, really. So I'm just so grateful for that, and happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl.
Michael, do you have any thoughts or comments or? Okay, so I want to
I think Twala has another comment.
Hi, Twyla. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm going to try and talk over the chainsaw going on in the background. Another initiative that I was thinking, because most of our kids, when they're on that phone, are they're either on TikTok watching another TikTok person, or Instagram, or they're on YouTube watching another influencer. So another initiative that I'm trying to get going and get some momentum behind is finding some of these famous TikTokers and YouTubers and all of them and trying to maybe get them on board with some of the stuff that we're doing. Because if our kids are going to sneak off and watch these guys anyway, I want it to be something that they like. They don't have to know that I got something going on with the TikToker that they're on the phone with, or they're going back and following, you know what I'm saying? If that person is putting forth the messages that we're wanting them to put forth or whatever. So that's something that I am really trying to like jump into. How can I connect with the kids that my kids are interested in? Because that's where they're going. And I think if we can bridge that gap and find those influencers that are willing to kind of get on board with this, you know what I'm saying? Or find those influencers and maybe push our kids towards them that are already like-minded like we are, because there are plenty of YouTubers and TikTokers out there our children's age that are as like-minded as we are due to their parents. We just got to find them and expose our kids to them. So I'm trying to find these people out there in the community. They don't get as much um um exposure because they're not as popular, but they're out there. So I want to try and find them and push them out to our kiddos. So if anybody has any thoughts, connections, or anything like that, chunk it out there to me, please.
You know,
Yes,
Twyla,
ma'am.
Yes.
I have a thought for you. On our website, safekidsnow.com, we are putting out videos. Actually, they're avatars. And I've got one on how to stop bullying, and it's only 4 slides. You can use that one. And also the listening chair will be coming up next week. That one is just coming out. And then we're going to have one coming out on abstinent sex for teenagers, because we have sexualized our children, which has destroyed many lives, because what happens is they get emotionally involved. And this is a spiritual connection between two people. And girls and boys don't realize this. And it's what allows people to stay together and beat each other up and not separate themselves, because that's that spiritual connection between people. It can be man, woman, or something else. And if we don't stop the sexual so-called revolution, which is, and we can't stop it, but we can inform our children that if you want to have a safe and sane life and a healthy life, abstain from sex at an early age, because it will not serve your needs in the future. And you could destroy your life, basically. And I've seen it happen over and over and over again. Been doing this a long time, and I've had too many young people, 16, 15, 17, crying on my shoulder about trying to take care of a baby. It's just not healthy for anybody. Do you have a comment, Edwina?
I think it's fantastic. And we are hearing more about, we went completely away from this idea of understanding abstinence or understanding waiting. And just, it's kind of this attitude that we have, we have the same attitude about guns. It's like, oh, there's too many, there's nothing we can do about it. That is not the case. When it comes to sex, understanding consequences, but, a lot of young women, they are insecure and they do somehow believe that that's something that feels like love, and that, they feel like that's going to be something that's simple, and it's not simple. So again, education, we have all this sex education, but we don't have a spiritual education about it. There is one actually called Our Whole Lives, which is a wonderful program. But I totally agree that that's another component of all of this, especially for girls. And, if we get into a whole kind of gender conversation about this, it is our young men that get beaten more than the young women. Not everywhere. It's not that's not a, you know, it is our young men that are not allowed to express, cry, grieve. They have to be this tough person. And it is our young men that turn up feeling very lost, looking for community, finding gangs, acting out, doing drugs. So a story of mine is that my husband had a very unhealthy, toxic family situation. The dad, who was blustery, happened to be a fireman. Everybody in the community loved him. Abusive with his wife, abusive with his kids, broke my husband's arm wrestling with him, like did some really, um, I don't know how to describe it. Anyway, it was a really bad situation. My husband vowed to never be like his parents, but he became an alcoholic and an addict. And he died when he was 64 years old because his whole life was, he was in so much pain. He never slept. This is all about our traumas. This is everyone's story on
Yep.
a large or a small scale. You know, we have traumas with a little t, we have traumas with a big T, but we have to start to be able to talk about them, understand them, move through them, and use them to motivate ourselves for our growth and our next level. So just not hitting your kids, while it's maybe a step in the right direction, it's not enough. It is not enough. You need the listening chair. You need to be able to have a relationship with them. You need to understand and help them develop so that they can share their feelings and start to understand them. So,
You know, Edwina,
Mhm.
you know, I worked with Mother Wright in Oakland, California, and she was feeding the homeless. And I worked with her for 5.5 years. And we started a support group for men at a church. This was a very low income area. And we had about 21 men show up at one of our support meetings. And they were, most of them, on drugs. But I have never heard such brutal, brutal stories about abuse, being locked in closets, being chained outside in the winter. I mean, the stories were horrendous, but what turned things around were all of these men talking to each other. And they learned they weren't alone. They were horrified by some of the other stories they heard. And you know what? When we got finished with, and we gave ourselves 3 months because some of these guys were on drugs and some of them we couldn't reach, but 8 to 10 men got jobs after they had a conversation with each other and started to think about, I need to clean up my act. We have thousands of homeless people, thousands, and we need to have support groups for those people to talk about their traumas, because all of this is about a traumatized society. That's what we're dealing with here. And we need a lot more people involved to help them. And I put a lot of these stories in empowerment parenting, and also there are stories, and this one is for teenagers. Magical You, because our children are magical, but we got to start today if we're going to keep this democracy. This is empowering teens to stay safe and healthy in an unsafe world. And that's what we have today. And we need to have a lot of people much more involved in their own community, in the neighborhoods, starting support groups, in their churches, where people can, and then the churches need to get much more involved. As I said, 350,000 churches. Come on, Christians, and people of other nationalities and of other races and religions. We need them all to start reaching out to each other in the neighborhood and in support circles for men and women. They need to talk about their trauma.
100%. I do want to say, let's talk about the internet. You actually have, Toila, you created a little segue for one other thing that I want to present to everybody. And Stephanie, I hope that you and your community, that we can send out some challenges to them for this. So a part of our ethos, really our mission, is to use technology to start to really give folks the tools to work with kids, but also create fun, interesting, engaging activities that kids will respond to, adults will respond to, and to counter some of these influences. When you're talking about influencers right now on the, I don't know if we talked about this yesterday, but when we're talking about the internet, I don't know how many of you bury yourself in TikTok or any of these other things. I mean, they are quite, rabbit holes that can be very destructive. They also can be kind of fun and mind, clearing for time. We're not going to get that away from our kids. We're not. It is part of our life now. It's part of our world. So our approach with Playdate is to really use the internet for very positive, fun, healthy ideas and activities. So I just put in the chat here that we're working on a gamified version of a peace influencer program. A peace influencer program is going to be doing just that, creating folks that can ultimately be a peace influencer online. It's not just for kids, but it will start with very simple tasks that even kids can do. And they will graduate to different levels and, earn things. And ultimately, after they do service and different kinds of tasks and kinds of literacy, like cultural literacy things, when they start to have a worldview and see themselves as a peace influencer, then we get them to the point where we can start to channel them. What do they love about? Do they want to become a neighborhood safety? What is the name of it? Neighborhood safety expert?
Yes, neighborhood safety.
Safety expert, or do they want to work on the environment, or many things, work with kids, mental health? So giving them a place to start, but we have to understand our internet has monetized hate. Okay. The
Yes.
clicks are at the outrageous, unbelievable, hateful things that people are saying and doing. We have had so much of that. And who is making the money? These platforms, these hate groups. Yesterday, we were about how do we keep these kids out of extremist and hate groups, because they are being targeted, not just to bring them into an ideology, but they're also being targeted to get their money. There is Andrew Tate. We've talked about this a lot. Many of you have heard this. Andrew Tate, who is, a really problematic, huge influencer for young men, runs online classes for middle school boys, how to become a man. This is a very misogynistic ideology that he has. $500. And dads, I'm guessing it's dads. If it wouldn't be a man, it wouldn't be me as a mom. I'm guessing it's a lot of dads are saying, you need to be a man. Here's $500. Okay, this is problematic. And then there's just everybody's telling you we don't look good enough. We weigh too much. We need a new bra. What else do we need? Okay, you're not good enough. Give me some of your money and I will help you solve that problem, ladies. You are not beautiful the way you are. Okay, all of these things are the kinds of messages that don't feed us spiritually. So starting to find ways to counter all of this is it's a big task. It's a step at a time. It's all of us. Peace Influencer Program is in development. Stephanie, we need to come up with some specific tasks about nonviolence and safety for that program. Above and beyond that, I want to show you something that we just started doing and we're going to be doing for quite a long time. It's called Making Respect Cool Again. It's a online viral video challenge, and it is about. Let me share my screen. Hold on. It's a contest where people can win prizes. So it's not just going viral. We are rewarding people for doing this work. And I'm going to show you one video, and then I do think I even have a couple of others. Hold on 2 seconds here. I'm so bad at this. Okay, can we all see this?
Each other, and then I'll say the words and then you say, ready? So, you are my other me. You are my other me. If I do harm to you, then I do harm to myself. And if I love and respect you, then I love and respect myself.
Okay, so that was just a glimpse. We've got 4 other videos that we just lined up. That little group won a bunch of fun backpacks and tattoos and balloons, $50 gift card. And so this is a global challenge, and we will be specifically calling groups out, churches, family groups, interfaith groups. It's not, like I said, it's not just for kids, it's for adults. But this idea, let me tell you what this is. This is called In Lakesh. And Stephanie, maybe your team could consider doing it somewhere. Maybe we could have some adults that did it. I'm going to share what this is so you understand it a little bit better. And again. So this is an ancient Mayan principle. It was kind of a way that they greeted each other and the way they approached each other. It's very similar to Namaste, Ubuntu. It is the golden rule. It is the golden rule. We do a horrible job of teaching the golden rule. We say, love thy neighbor. No one's loving thy neighbor. We say, treat others that you'd want to be treated. What we left out, there's 22 versions of the golden rule. And we teach it as a transaction, like it's karma. Cheryl, I'll be nice to you and you'll be nice to me. That's not the golden rule. The golden rule is when I'm nice to you, I lift us both up. I feel better about who I am. When I hurt you, when I'm unkind to you, when I'm mean to you, I bring you down, but I bring myself down because I feel bad about my behavior. That's not an act of self-love. Act of self-love is being loving and respectful to another. That's when you love yourself. So when we found this in Lakesh, this was really the best 3-sentence simplified crystallized version of the golden rule that we've ever seen. And so it was translated into Spanish in the 70s by this playwright and poet that's down here, this Pensamento Serpentino, and then it's been translated into English. We've got a few translations, but we just felt like this could be something that people could understand. This is the golden rule. So this to me is the universal peace hack. It's the re-envisioned teaching of the golden rule. So that's why we created this video challenge, because again, using technology, giving people this opportunity. And we have so many groups that are starting to use this weekly, open their meetings with it, opening their services or their classes with it. I actually learned it at a indigenous circle keeping workshop that I was in. And it kind of blew me away because everybody was in there ready to duke it out about something. They said, bring your most contentious thoughts with you so that you can, debate somebody. But then this diffused everything because we're the same. We're the same. We're connected with that string that you call God, you call love, whatever you call it. but you have the same feelings I do. So if I'm hurting you, it hurts me. So this is our challenge. This is how we want to use technology for good. And I'm going to show you a few more. My marketing people just sent me, I think, a couple other videos. Let me see if I can just open them. And then I will send you all of this afterwards, because I don't want to, I know we've gone over a lot of stuff today. Let me see. Give me one more second. And then you can download this off of our, website. Oh, here, let's see. Give me 1 second. He just sent it to me on WhatsApp. Let's see if I can. Oh, let me stop it. I found it, I think. Sorry. Way too many windows open. All right, this is a village in, forgive me if some of you have seen this before. This is a village in Uganda. Start it again. This one you saw. I'm going to just fast forward it to a couple of others. This is a group in Unity of Nigeria, Cheryl. You get the idea.
To you, I do harm to myself. If I love and respect you, if I love and respect you, I love and respect myself. I love and respect myself. From Mayan wisdom.
If I love you and respect you, if I love and respect you, I love and respect myself.
Edwina, I put my information in the chat for anybody
I'm
that.
sorry?
I put my information in the chat for anybody that would like to contact me or talk about this further.
So I
So,
think we can do a follow-up, and I'll be sending everybody, including all 60 of the other people, a follow-up with all of your links, your email, your books, all of our stuff, so that everybody can access all of it. If anyone here would really like to do, I'm sure Stephanie and I could find a way to do another session, and maybe develop some other things, especially if you have specific, sorry, hold on, let me get rid of
yeah,
this.
and I have a free download on the website for
Yeah.
anybody that's
I'll
interested.
share that. I'll
Okay.
share that too. And please sign up for, Stephanie's got a great newsletter. We also have a newsletter, and we're going to be, like I said, I think there's so much alignment here. I'm sure we're going to be developing a few more segments for you all. And so we have about 3 minutes left. And does anyone have any other comments or questions or thoughts or things they'd like to see Stephanie get involved with? Cheryl.
I just had a thought when you were talking about you know, this project, and you said something that triggered in me, the more you love and respect others, the more you'll love and respect yourself.
Yes.
So it was like, okay, you know, some people can hear that too, right? Because I think many of us feel we're not enough, we don't love ourselves enough. I think you were talking about, you know, body shaming and all the things that we've grown up with. But recognizing that that's one way to start to to love yourself is love and respect others.
100%. That is the act of
That's a good comment. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else? Some of our other quiet, shy participants have anything? Tuela.
Yeah, just real quick. I definitely want to be in on the next meeting that we have something like this on. And I specifically would like to speak on the SPED kids, the bullying with them. I'm a behavior tech. I work with children with autism, and I work with children who have behaviors due to trauma. And they are picked on by the gen ed kids, something atrocious. They're never believed because they're already stigmatized, and my babies are being tortured. So, any insight that we could have on um, identifying the problem, bringing it to light, and then coming up with solutions would be greatly appreciated.
We do have an advisor who is a special ed advisor that is doing inclusive kinds of work and has a lot of resources. So I'll make sure to include you in that. And I think we can, Stephanie, do you have anything about communities and violence with, I just saw a horrible beating of a deaf man that had, I think he had CP. Did you all see this on the news? He was beaten by two cops. He could barely speak, and they had no idea how disabled he actually was. And for whatever reason, he's in the hospital. I think he's expected to survive. But again, this is another area that, and it's in the, it's in the shadows.
Yeah.
It's another area that we don't understand. So we sort of, because it's mystified, we don't want to take it head on. And again, but this is all down to the basic fear of the other, fear of anything different. Stephanie, do you have anything in your whole arsenal of resources?
Well, as a matter of fact, there's a lot of information about bullies in our books. I'm going to create I'm going to get somebody to, what do you call a talking book? What do you know? What's the word?
An
An audit book.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people don't read. And violence is so commonplace, not just here, but all over the world. And I'm working with 6 organizations here in Las Vegas on child sex trafficking. And this is a huge problem nationally. And these are the children that are vulnerable are the runaways. And it's also the kids that have been abused in their home. And so there's so much information out there. So we'll try and get more information to you bring your friends, because we really need to talk about this on a big scale, because this is such a huge problem. So thank you so much, Edwina, for all of your support and help, because as we all know, these are problems that can be solved, but they're not going to be solved by who you elect as president, period. It's going to be about us, the people. And there's so many good people out there. I cannot tell you. There are so many people willing to help. Even the children. We got children working in neighborhoods and bringing neighbors together, young teenagers with adult guidance. There's a lot of things we can do to create community and get the kids involved, because the kids need to be involved too. We've got an awful lot to share with you, so we'll look forward to the future.
Yeah, I think we could do a follow-up. Maybe, I'm thinking maybe not before January, but if any of you want to reach out to either of us, you'll be getting an email. Stephanie has a lot of her information here, her website. I am going to put mine in the chat here. I'm Edwina at Spiritual Playdate. You can reach out to me if you need anything else from us. And we'd like to keep working with you all. And we challenge all of you to go to our website, take the Respect Challenge, record yourself with even one other human being and post it and tag us, and you'll be entered in our contest. And then we can really start to spread that message. That's how things go viral. That's how we get our message out, is people get excited and they get involved. So thank you, Stephanie. Today was wonderful. We appreciate you so much. You are a wealth of knowledge, and I hope you all have an opportunity to go download her free downloads, get her books, and we will, Stephanie, if you want to stay on with me for a minute, I'm going to say thank you to everybody else, and have a lovely day, week, month, rest of the year.
Thank you.
Take good care, all of you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye.
I have to go, Edwina, pretty quick
Oh,
because
okay.
I'm taking my daughter to the airport.
Call me later. We can,
Okay.
I might put the follow-up, as soon as I have the recording, I'll put the follow-up video together. So there'll be a recording. Your presentation was wonderful.
Well,
Those
thank you for inviting me.
those 3 pieces that you did, we're going to highlight all of that. We're going to do it and send out the recording of that. The concrete pieces, because a lot of people, we all, even I'm working with different people from all over, and there's a lot of talk about the problem, but not a lot of talk
That's
about
right.
tools and the solutions, which is what we're about. We're trying to give people tools. So
Absolutely.
I love the tools that you shared with us. I want to talk to you further about maybe doing some other things with those and developing those
Okay.
in a
care.
more scalable way.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.